Hey guys, quick experiment in Factorio. This is the save that I've been using to tinker with LTN and understand how to make it work. As we can see here, we are currently nice and stable and producing a whole bunch of stuff. Most importantly is our plate, and our stone brick is what we are smelting. And we're mining up stuff and smelting it and so on. So how I'm mediating this with LTN is I have two train networks in LTN. I tried to do this with one train network, and we built up way too much traffic here. So that gave me a chance to explore the two train network solution, which makes a lot of sense, especially when this representation of a base, in a real base, these will be scattered to the winds. So what we have here is a network number 1, which is centered around LTN depot number 1 down here. And this will be providing trains to pick up the raw materials that we're mining, iron, copper, coal, and stone, and take them wherever. In this case, they will be consumed over here by our smelters. And then Station 2 is picking up the outputs of the smelters and taking them to the eaters over here, the consumers. Now, this is actually fairly well connected. I didn't set up two completely distinct railroad lines for several reasons. First off, I'm running all of my trains on coal. So whoever's picking up coal needs to be able to deliver the coal to both of the depots. So they have to be connected there. Second off, whenever a train comes back with excess stuff in it, I have set up the depots so that when a train returns to the depot with cargo, the cargo is pulled out and tossed in a recycling station, which is then responsible for providing that back to the network. In this particular network, that would only happen if I misconfigured my stations. My goal on the configuration of the stations that are providing is to prevent them from trying to overload a train, so we don't end up with more in the train than was asked for. And on the other side, in the consuming stations, I try to assure that when I am requesting stuff, I have enough capacity locally to accept more than I was sent. So these will probably, from time to time, LTN may decide to pick up 1,000 here and send it out 1,000 there, and it may turn off the inserters at the destination early. And if it happens that some is left in the train, then we will end up with excess stuff down here. And if that happens, then LTN is free to then pick up materials from the recycling station and deliver them. So here we are, we're basically stable. I added trains until we had some trains not being used. My original intent was to have the two trains on the end never get pulled, and when they do, drop another one in. And at some point, they got used, and I thought, wow, we're never dropping down below 2, so we should be fine. Here, one of the two got used, and I think we're fine. Let's take a look at them. Oh, and we're running right now at X20, well, more like X10. We're running at X20, but only getting X10. That's fine. So, depots are simple. We give them all the same, so all the stations in a depot will have the same names. So I have 24 stations here. They're called LTN Depot 1. And all the trains that are homed at that depot will be on this list. So to configure the depot, Basically, you just wire up all their logistic train stop inputs together. This is the lamp. And you feed them with a combinator that says, first, you're a depot. And then second, we set the train filters to what trains we want to see in this depot. In this case, I only want trains with the first position must have a locomotive. The second, third, fourth, and fifth positions need to have cargo wagons. We are unloading with these inserters. If I was moving liquids in this network, I would want a separate depot to handle the liquid trains so I could use pumps to drain the liquids. Those stations are wider because it has to, the pump has to fit and pipes have to fit and yada. Also, I'm not exactly sure how to do recycling of liquids. I think you have to have a trained station to handle each kind of liquid somehow, which means trains coming into the depot, you have to somehow get the liquid out of the train and sent to the right destination, and I'm really not sure how to make that work. So when I start moving liquids by train, I'm going to have to do another round of experimenting. But for now, we'll see if we can just mostly move solids. We may have a problem when we get to sciences that require liquids. Anyway, so that's real simple depot. Mines are our typical load up stuff and send it out. You can see this is very efficient. Train comes in, we load it, and it takes twice as long to fetch stuff from the mine to fill the box as it does to fill the train. So in theory, if we had trains coming back to back to back to back, we would be draining this mine at 8 belts rate and filling trains at 16. I suspect that there's too much time between trains for that to be actually happening. So the configuration, each one of these stations has to have a separate name. So this is Stone Quarry R for right, and over here we've got Stone Quarry L for left. The train configuration comes from a constant combinator. For my mining trains, I wasn't really sure how much these stacked to, so I thought, well, I'm going to wait until I have 160 stacks before I call a train. Makes sense, because a train has cargo wagons, 4 cargo wagons by 40, 160. So it says if I have enough to fill a train, then I can call it. But over here I'm saying 4 locked slots per wagon. So in theory, we may be able to knock this down, maybe even knock it down to 1. I'm going to try that. Anyway, so we do a couple things. As I said, provide stack threshold. Locked slots per wagon says don't attempt to fill up the whole wagon. That means that if, for instance, we were using stack inserters to fill the wagon, the last time they swing, if it didn't all fit perfectly, we'd end up with inserters hanging out over the cargo wagons with something in them. If this were a station that could load multiple different things, then we could end up dropping one of the old things we wanted into a wagon that just wanted a new thing. So I guess in theory, if a given station only ever loads one kind of thing, we don't really need to use this. But I'm going to put that in general. In fact, in general, I'm going to leave it at 4. Down here we have the filters. Doesn't matter what order you put them in the box. I've found that keeping the filters over here makes it easier to find them. This station wants a locomotive in front and cargo wagons in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And it wants trains that are no longer than 5 for parking reasons. So I'm going to use this max to indicate what kind of parking I have. Limiting the number of trains to 3. Again, that's because parking. So I could have 1 train in the station and 2 more trains behind it. So we could send 3 trains in usefully. And this is network ID. So if we need to move stuff from this station, then we want to get a train that's on some depot somewhere that's on network 1, and we will only be able to send it to destination stations that are also in network 1 or any network. Remember, if you don't specify a network ID, it's in all the networks, and network IDs are powers of 2, and there are 1 through 2 to the 30th. We have 31 networks actually, because you don't want to go negative. You could, but yeah, let's not. So that's the way all of these stations are done. And in fact, I believe they are all completely identical here. So in theory, if you had a large number of stations loading various kinds of ores, stone and coal and iron and copper and so on. Let's say you were doing a central dispatcher area, so you pulled stuff from all over the map into a dispatcher area, and then you've got a dozen stations. You could do that. You could literally have a single combinator providing this to everybody, and then you change it just in that one place, and it would make it effective for all those stations. So, typical consumer. We can start with this. This is a station for getting coal. I'm actually using the steel smelters on purpose here. This allows me to show what happens when we have two things being pulled in at different rates. And this is actually, later game scale, but mid-game units. Typically, if I am running smelters at this scale, I'm probably running electric furnaces, and I'm probably moduling them. If not, then this would be like a temporary furnace that I would set up to get the plates going so that I could make modules. Making those modules is going to be it's going to sink a lot of resources. I built an outpost at one point to build class 3 modules, and literally it ate more input and used more power than the other bases I was building. I'm still building the mega base in that series, but it's still the mega base is back to I'm faking the inputs for all the smelter outputs and all the petroleum outputs, but it is still in like 1/5 the power of just the module base. I may have over-engineered the module base a bit. I would never do that. So let's take a look at this. This is a requester station, and it wants coal and nothing but coal. So it's kind of simple. So here we have the same. We're filtering down, and we're saying we only want trains that have an engine in front, followed by 4 wagons, and we don't want anything longer than 5 because it won't fit in our parking. And we are allowing up to 3 trains. So 1, 2, 3. There we go. The other configurations here are this -8,000 says when we get refilled, please refill us up at least to 8,000 coal. Okay. So if we look at our power pole here that's managing what we're doing, you notice that our coal is like 7.1k. We just had some coal delivered to us. So LTN will tend to fill this up to 8,000 or just a bit over 8,000. The second thing is the request stack threshold. This says to please schedule a train if we are 40 stacks of coal less than the 8,000 we want. Well, 40 stacks of coal is going to be 1 row for each of the boxes. So what will happen is LTN will notice that we're 40 stacks down. It will then figure out how much coal to send us to bring it back up to 8,000, and it will shove a train our way. And the train may not have the same amount in each wagon. I mean, it depends on how it's loaded. I mean, if it comes from a recycling station, it may all be in 1 wagon. So This station does have a standard balanced unloader here. Because the coal rate is fairly low for this smelter, I could get by with doing a simple unloader here. I'm using the mini loaders to unload. So simple is in quotes. These are capable of unloading the train at full blue belt rates. And so we unload at blue belt rates, we load it into the box at blue belt rates, we can unload from the box at blue belt rates. And this combinator basically says we're toting up how much we have in the boxes, dividing it by 4 and subtracting it from the box here. So there's a red wire between these two that you can't see. And this guy says if we are within 5 of having more than everybody else, if we have more than everybody else or the same number or a little bit less than average, then we're going to go ahead and allow our output. And you'll notice that these all started the same, so the ones that have the longer distance have outputted a little bit less, but on average the rate is going to be split across them. So these will all go down at about the same rate. They will stay within 5 or 10 of each other. It's especially useful if you're using stack inserters. I'm using the mini loaders. I think the mini loaders always work one unit at a time. I'm not sure how close that is. But I like to do my logistics planning and my controls based on moving entire stacks. So this assures that we get trains sent to us, and this is just a unloader. Yeah, it has nothing to do with LTN really. Up here, I wanted enough capacity here so that in the time between trains we had enough in the boxes to continue to feed our outputs at 8 full belts of output. And I believe that's working. Yeah, you can see here. So now the ore is coming in, and we're feeding it in belts into the smelters, and the plate's coming out. And now we've got a provider station. This is configured very much the same as the plate chests, or the ore chests. Again, we could go with a different number of locked slots per wagon. This is just literally identical. The one thing that is different is this guy's on network 2. So remember I mentioned that my plate outputs. So network number 2 is based here at depot 2. So the trains from there are going to generally pick up the outputs, the iron plate, copper plate, and brick, and send them off to whoever wants them. So these stations are marked as network 2. Now, it turns out that I don't have to mark my consumers what network they're in this case. This way, if we ended up with a train in depot 1 that happened to pick up, say, some iron plate from a recycle guy, then it could run it on out. We wouldn't demand that a train come from depot 2 to go to the depot 1 recycler and then head out here. Now, admittedly, that would work because these consumer stations are currently they're on all networks, and I believe I set up the recycling being on all networks as well. That was my intent, so that any train could come pick up some recycles and take it out. Let's take a look here. Yep, the recycling stations are potentially a little more complicated. In theory, in design, we can think of them as more complicated because they may have a large number of different items sitting here. So when a train comes back and has extra stuff, it'll unload it into these provider chests. The bots will put it in one of these guys, which is then provided to LTN as, I have stuff for you. But remember, for the producers, we didn't have anything in the combinator saying what we're producing. That all came from what's in the box. So what LTN will see is a signal vector coming in that says, I have some copper plates and some iron plates and some brick, and maybe I've got a few other random things that I'm not even producing, but they're all there and they're all available Then LTN can say, oh, let's go pick it up. And I've got our provide threshold set to 1 stack. So anytime we get a full stack of anything in these boxes, the train will roll. Now, one downside is that if one of these boxes has a plate in it, the bots will tend to put all the iron plate in the same box. So the recycling trains will be, the 4 cars, and all the stuff will be in one of the car. So it is tempting in a real base to maybe think of doing 1-1 trains for recycling. So you pick up the recycling and you have a little 1-1 stop everywhere. You have some place that you can consume your recycled plate and so on. Possibly useful. If you, by your design, note that you are regularly getting back big buckets of, say, electronic circuits, you could reserve one of these for electronic circuits in each carload. I'm not sure whether it would split them. I think it might fill the first one and then fill another one and then fill another one, but that would at least say that once one of these got full, it would go on to the next. Of course, a complete storage chest full of something is going to be more than you can carry in one wagon. So there is that. And the final station is just another consumer station, configured just like the other consumer stations. It's requesting iron plates, and in this case I'm saying I want, if I've got 8K available, so my request threshold is 8K, that should be a request threshold in terms of stacks. So if I have space for 40 stacks, 160 stacks, sorry. If I have space in my boxes for 160 stacks, and I sure hope that that's balanced. In this case, we're not balancing because we're just draining it as fast as we can. Then have LTN fill us up to 32K. And the other thing we put on here is this little guy, disable warning messages. Apparently 2 does nothing, as far as I can tell. The idea is that if normally if you are requesting and you can't get a request done, then LTN will pop you a warning and say, oh no, I can't find stuff for this station, I'm starving this station. That's a good warning. But in this case, I want to drain things as fast as they're being smelted. And I just realized that I may be smelting faster than 4 blue belts. It's quite possible that I'm throttling my smelting by having my drain station be wrong. Let's reconfigure our drain station a little bit. Now, something I've noticed about Creative Mod is sometimes these special guys, if you blueprint them and then place the blueprint, the thing you placed doesn't actually work. So that's what we want it to look like now. So let's see if my iron plate rate goes up. So cranking this up to as fast as it will go. I already know from experience that Creative Mod will limit us. Hey, looky there. So we were running around 12K, 10K, 11K, 12K, but if I'm willing to eat more plate from the beginning, look at what's happening there. Let's do that to the other ones too. Now in this case, that happened to drop it down. How about that? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It might be that it works when I'm doing things like right now where I'm saying, I believe I've got that turned on. Cheats, personal. Yeah, I have instant blueprint turned on. So with instant blueprint, the matter voids seem to work. So now that I've cranked up my rates, look at that. Iron and copper go up. Stone isn't going to go up. He's already... problem with stone is that stone takes it takes twice as much stone in as it sends brick out. So we're already limited here to 8 belts of stone. Let's take a look at where we are missing trains. So basically our coal mines, I'm going to add a couple of trains on each side. I have a mod that when I hit Control-Shift-Z, I can mouse over some trains and set them to automatic mode, so that helps me with blueprinting down trains. Notice those snapped right off. I'm going to add 2 more. Let's make sure they are Depot 2. Yes, they are. Yeah, when a train leaves immediately like that, that's because the others are still usually loading fuel. There. So this is a little bit ragged because the timing of when the trains move is going to be not perfect. I am sure that the right thing to do here is to actually run 3 8 trains instead of 1 4s. But that's an experiment for a different day. So there it is, LTN, all worked out, and I have saved off some blueprints, I think. Actually, let's go ahead and re-blueprint these. I'm going to go ahead and delete these blueprints and create some new ones. These are the original LTNs I was doing. Okay, so now here, network 1, I need more trains. There we go. Okay, so we're going to snapshot a depot train. No, not a depot train, a depot. Let's put that to blank. So, first blueprint, I'm going to start here. And this much. So that's train stop names. I'm going to make it a relative snap to grid and 4 high so we can paint those downward. And I am going to turn off train stop names. So when we place these, they will have random names and they will be new random names. So I won't risk putting down a new train stop that has the depot name of a depot that's across the base. So this is I'm going to make this really simple. It's LTN and D for depot. And this is for a 1-4 train. refueling and offloading of extra returned overstock. So this is going to go into my blueprints right there. So that'll be available to all of my builds now. The next one I want to snapshot is the LTN Loading Station. Now notice if I want to go 3.8, I would just take these and run them out, leave off the first two, but then I'd add 6 more, and that would be the whole thing. This is a balanced loader. I don't know why I am balancing. I shouldn't be balancing here. There's no excuse for this. So basically, I went overboard, and this is controlling these upper mini loaders so that we draw levelly from our boxes. We don't need to do that. If the boxes are unbalanced, we will still load. Now we still need to know how much is in the box. And I noticed that we have red connections in there, which we don't need. Since I'm making a blueprint, let's make it clean. There we go. So we've got all the boxes connected together by green and all of the inserters, well, mini loaders, connected together by red. So there's our proper station. I'm not going to go correct the others. They will work just fine, but I do want to get this correct when I snapshot it. So the snapshot starts here, and I'm not going to pick up the things above, but I will pick up that far. I'm also not going to pick up any of the rail signals. Just like that. We are not going to pick up the train stop name, so when we place this, it will get a new random train stop name. So we won't be suddenly looking like someone else. Oh, the other thing I need to do before I do that, turn off this constant combinator so that when we place the station, it doesn't immediately start to work. So it won't take part in LTN until we turn that on. We already had a train coming, so that's fine. So here is our thing. So these are backwards. Frick. Oh, and it looks like because I have everything hooked up, LTN is a little bit confused and thinks it needs to bring stuff to me. Oh, no. You know, when Greg gets confused, yeah, my bad. Okay, so now we are loading the train properly. Let's try this again. I will include the loaders loading into the boxes. I will not include the balancers above it. There we go. Train stop name is off. Snap to grid is off. and this is LTN, and this is L for loader. So load from 16 blue belts into a 1-4 train. This is a, do that. And now we can turn this back on. LTN apparently has some sane defaults if you don't use one of those configuration guys. Notice it was doing things, so yeah. So now in my blueprints I now have loader and depot, and now let's have an unloader. I'm going to use the unloaders from the smelter side. So let's do 2 unloaders. Let's do the bulk unloader and the merged unloader as separate. There. So the bulk unloader here, we want 32K stone here. And once this guy is done unloading, I want to be able to idle this station. There we go. Turn it off, kill the stone. So now we can snap from here, out through here. This is LTN bulk unload. It's unload bulk. I'm going to, oops, not L, sorry. LTN. So I've got L for loader, and I'm going to have U for the unloader down here. And actually, I'll use a 2. So this is going to be the call it 8. No, it's only 16. I'll call this U for unload. So this is LTN unloader for 1-4 trains into boxes, then out along 4 blue lines. Make a note to myself there that in practice I wouldn't want to drive more than 8 blue belts of output from here. There we go. So this is a merged unload. Or slow unload, if you will. There. So again, oh, this really does need to have its configuration refixed. So this guy, again, off. It's going to be 8K coal when I reestablish. I'm going to include the merge here because that's a critical part of what we're doing. LTN unloader merged. LTN. I'll use M for merge. So this also should be able to keep both of these output belts full. Now if we alter the output of this to have four lines coming out, then we would not be able to have 4 full blue belts coming from this. It's just not fast enough. We'd need a different design for that. Let's call it merged unload. I need to have something that actually shows me when I look at the book, so merged has to come first. That works. Let's make the other ones like this. There. And to organize this a bit, let's put these in a blueprint book. Okay, so to put these in that book, I'm going to have to do this. Surely there's a better way. So depot, loader, unloader, and merged. So there's our LTN stations, right there at the top. Okay. Anyway, so there it is. I am now going to start. Well, not start. I have already mainly done my retrofit of the mega base to use LTN along these lines, and I believe that we match up with these fairly well. These stations may be slightly better than what I have. I will use these in the future in the larger base and in future bases. I don't think I'm going to tear down the existing LTN stations that I've already placed though. So I think we're done here.